Welcome to Coffee and Crimes Podcast. I'm Maggie, and I am going to be the host of this podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about a topic that is not only getting a lot of media attention nationwide, but also worldwide. There are several other countries who have already launched investigations into the people who have been listed in these files. And today we're going to be talking about Jeffrey Epstein and the Jeffrey Epstein files. I just want to first start out by saying that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Of course, we all have our speculations about that and just kind of how we feel. But just for the sake of law, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. To start off, just a brief summary of who Jeffrey Epstein was early on. He was born in Coney Island. Graduated high school in 1969. He was smart and he skipped grades, and so he was able to graduate early. There is it's no surprise that Jeffrey Epstein was smart. Looking into the files and just kind of who he was as a person and just kind of the situations he put himself and others in, he was a very intelligent person. That, of course, that intelligence was used for evil, but intelligent nonetheless. So there's a lot of speculation about how Jeffrey Epstein became so wealthy and kind of where the money came from. Now, there are several speculations. Like I said, all of this is speculations, or most of it will be speculations. I have some facts and stuff like that as well. I have pages upon pages of notes that I've taken, as well as documents from the files themselves that I will be working on or using to help support the evidence that I found. But a lot of it is speculation and just everybody, not only in the U.S., but all over, just trying to bring awareness and understanding and prevention for the victims and themselves and that sort of thing. So to start off, a lot of people, like I said, have wondered where the money came from. And there are several people who speculate that Jeffrey Epstein was a spy with his ties to Ghislaine Maxwell and Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, who was an Israeli spy. It definitely makes sense that that could have been the case. I have a video that I'm going to play for you shortly that kind of talks about why people think he was a spy, just because of the connections he had all over. And so while I pull that video up, I am going to just kind of talk about that. There's also been several people who say that a lot of it came from blackmail, and he became very wealthy off of blackmailing the people who were involved with these crimes that he was doing. But I have the video pulled up, so I'll go ahead and play for you now. I will pause several times throughout this video and just kind of explain what he's talking about. So here's the video.
Everything you thought you knew is a lie. It's time to wake up.
Now, Epstein was Jewish and a Zionist and had big connections to Israeli politicians, to the military, and to the intelligence community. And in the black book of Jeffrey Epstein's contacts are people like Tony Blair, of course, Bill Clinton, and Hillary Clinton. There is this psychopath in Saudi Arabia, this crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, you know, the guy who was behind the bone saw cutting up of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Nice man. So Epstein had big connections. It also involves this web, something called the mega group. And this mega group connects us into Donald Trump, also a friend of Epstein.
So to dive into that, first and foremost, I am a Republican. I did vote for Donald Trump the last 2 elections that he ran. But with Donald Trump, he is mentioned in the files, I believe they said 38,000 times in 5,000 different documents. There's speculation that he was an abuser, and then that he was not involved at all, and that him and Jeffrey did not get along. Jeffrey Epstein and him met, I believe, in the 90s, and their it says, or it goes to say that their friendship was very brief. Jeffrey Epstein was at Mar-a-Lago and was being inappropriate with underage girls working at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump then banned him from Mar-a-Lago. Sasha Riley came out with a statement that said that Trump was one of his abusers. There have been several people that have claimed that statement is not correct because of the timeline in which he claims the abuse took place, and that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were not even friends nor acquaintances at that point in time. They had not even met. And so there is speculation about Sasha Riley's statement. Now, I just want to go and say right now that every statement from a victim involved in these files should be believed 100%. Now, however, if you can discredit somebody's statement strictly because they are trying to bury a president that a lot of people are having issues with right now, I think that you should face criminal charges for making a false statement, especially against the president of the United States. However, if Sasha Riley's statement comes out to be credible, I believe that Donald Trump should be charged just like the rest of the abusers, co-conspirators, enablers, and accessories in this case. I hope for the sake of our nation that our president is not involved in any way, shape, or form. But there's that, so I will go ahead and continue with the video.
A secretive group of billionaires was formed in 1991 by Charles Bronfman and Leslie Wexner, a loose...
Now, Leslie Wexner is also talked about several times in the Epstein files, and I do have just a tiny bit of information about Leslie Wexner for anybody who doesn't know who he is. Most of us do, I believe, but just for anybody who might not be familiar with who Leslie Wexner is, he is an American billionaire and retail tycoon. Empire includes Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie & Fitch, Bath & Body Works, and Limited. Claims to had severed ties with Epstein in 2007 after the allegations of Epstein's abuse of the girls began to surface. In 2019, he accused Epstein of misappropriating $64.8 million, a potential co-conspirator to the Epstein crimes. He is also mentioned in the Epstein documentary, where one of the victims actually was taken to Leslie Wexner's house in Ohio. So there are there are statements against him that he is implicated in these crimes, and he is part of this mega group, or he's a partner in the mega group created for all of these elite men. So I'll continue with the video so he can finish what he's explaining.
The organized club of 20 of the nation's wealthiest and most influential Jewish businessmen. And if you go deep enough into the web, to the level of cabal control, Mossad is the CIA, is British intelligence, is Australian intelligence and Canadian intelligence and French intelligence. And that web not only relates to pedophilia and Satanism, it relates to the forces that are controlling your life today. Virginia Giuffre claims that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who is alleged to have been the procurer of young girls for Epstein trafficked her to politicians, princes, and a high-flying financier, among others. Epstein and Maxwell trafficked her to powerful people for erotic massages and sex. Maxwell directed her to have sex with former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, Britain's Prince Andrew, wealthy financier Glenn Dubin, former Senator George Mitchell, now deceased MIT scientist Marvin Minsky, and modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, as well as another prince,
Which I just want to say, for the record, when they bring up Jean-Luc Brunel, that he is mentioned with Groff and 8 other suspected conspirators, Ghislaine Maxwell, and then it says here Jean-Luc Brunel, Darren Indyke, and Richard Kahn, and more by the FBI in 2019. Other than Maxwell, neither Groff nor any of the other suspected co-conspirators were charged with any crimes. So he's also mentioned and a suspected co-conspirator in the abuse as well.
Foreign president, a well-known prime minister, and Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. Dershowitz was part of Epstein's legal team that secured his outrageous plea bargain deal in 2007. So you see, this is a global ring. What this ring does from its controlling core is to use pedophilia to compromise people it wants to control. Presidents or prime ministers or anyone of political and other influence who can make decisions that this cabal wants them to make to advance its agenda.
One ring to rule them all.
So there's just kind of the video that I came across that really made sense, in my opinion, as far as how somebody had these many ties to several powerful people, and also backs the speculation of him being a spy. So there's that as well. I think it is important to understand that Virginia was a victim, and is mentioned in that video as well, and just kind of bring to light her story. She, unfortunately, and it's a very sad story, honestly. She was Prince Andrew's favorite, as she claimed. She wrote a book, Nobody's Girl. I urge you all to read it. It's gut-wrenching, but also very encouraging. But she has said several times that Prince Andrew really took to her, and she was his favorite, which is extremely alarming. And then with everything going on with the royal family right now, it all makes sense. She, unfortunately, committed suicide in April of 2025, and will not get to see her abusers convicted if it ever comes to that, and as it should. I was watching the House hearing yesterday, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and just kind of how that whole situation took place. And like I said, I'm a Republican and I voted for Trump, but how they are deflecting some of the questions about Epstein just seemed a little uncomfortable for me. And I'm also going to say that anybody involved in this abuse, no matter your political party, Democrat, Republican, or Independent, I think that everybody should face charges and be convicted and spend the rest of their life in prison, if not public execution, which is probably not going to happen, but it's the thought. So there were several, and it was quite shocking to me that Thomas Massie was one of the only Republican representatives who was really advocating for these victims. The victims, they were at the hearing. They took part in the hearing, and a Democratic representative asked Pam Bondi, my goodness, to turn around and to look at the victims and apologize for not taking their statements. She asked the victims if any of the victims that were in the hearing had been able to speak to anybody in the DOJ, and they said no. If she asked if they were still waiting for the DOJ to take their statements, and they said yes. And Pam Bondi would not turn around and acknowledge the victims, which is very gut-wrenching that somebody placed in that seat and with that much power kept deflecting the conversation to ICE agents and things going on with the border, which I want to say for the record that I am completely in support of ICE. Now, however, with that being said, I welcome Democratic, Republican, and Independent people to my podcast. Nobody is a stranger here. I am not the type of Republican that is going to belittle and degrade you. I was a diehard Republican until some of this stuff came out, and now I'm just starting to understand that it's not really Democratic or Republican, it's everybody, and I'm not taking sides in this situation because the only side that needs to be heard is the victims. So I was very, 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 very upset when she kept deflecting the questions to something a little bit more relevant to the case. And the hearing was held because of the Epstein files. She was ordered by Congress, the DOJ and Pam Bondi was ordered by Congress to release the files, and the only thing allowed to be redacted in the files was the victims' names and identities, personal information, things like that. Instead of doing that, they somehow managed to release victims' personal information, names, addresses, victims' names who had not yet come forward in the public eye as far as being a victim, and nobody knew they were a victim, families and friends and otherwise, and completely outed them as victims of Jeffrey Epstein and several other abusers, which is quite alarming as well. But what was redacted in the files was the abusers and the accomplices and enablers and accessories to these crimes, which was also against the Congress order as well. They were ordered to release the files in their entirety, and the only thing to be redacted was any information about the victims, and they failed to do so. There are still 3 million files that need to be released, but Pam Bondi claimed that the rest of the files were duplicative, which basically means irrelevant to any of the cases, and one of the representatives, I'm not exactly sure which one, I can't remember, he said if they're duplicative, then there should be no issue in releasing them anyways, and just easing our mind as a nation and as the world, that we are doing everything in our absolute possibilities. We are doing everything we can to give these victims, some justice. So to start off, also, because she is listed in the documentary or in the file so many times, is Leslie Groff, which was Epstein's executive assistant, who has been listed several times as a co-conspirator and a conspirator. So I just want to kind of touch base on her as well, because of the allegations that have been said against her. We will dive into some of the emails. This basically is just this episode is basically going to be how I'm going to start the rest of this series. Just basically giving you a breakdown of everything that's circling the internet right now, and then the next episode we will dive more into the emails, and I will start really digging into those for the people who have yet to read them or don't have the time to read them or don't have the stomach to read them. I will basically break them down and try and modestly talk about them without too many issues, if that's a possibility. Naturally, with this kind of abuse, there is going to be some sickening things that come out. I will cover some of them today. If you can't stomach to listen to it, please don't. You won't hurt my feelings if you have to fast forward through that part of the episode. I completely understand. I heard about an email the other day, and I've been trying to find it, and it seemed to be one of those ones that went missing somehow. That had me so distraught and sick that I was driving, and in the middle of the interstate, I had to pull over because I was crying so hard, and then proceeded to puke several times. I cried for about an hour and a half after that, and it's just it's very disheartening that this is the country and these are the people that a lot of people look up to as far as role models and things of that nature. So Leslie Groff was known for being the longtime executive assistant of Jeffrey Epstein. Groff was named a conspirator in the 2007 non-prosecution agreement and suspected co-conspirator in the 2019 after Epstein's death. Joined Epstein's organization in 2001, worked for him for 20 years, gifted her Mercedes-Benz and a full-time nanny by Epstein so that she could commute to work easier after having her children. Groff is listed as one of 4 women listed as potential conspirators alongside Sarah Kellen, Nadia Marenko, and Adrena Ross. In the 2007 non-prosecution agreement, Groff was listed as one of 8 suspected co-conspirators alongside Ghislaine Maxwell, Jean-Luc Brunel, Darren Indike, and Richard Kahn, and more by the FBI in 2019. Other than Maxwell, neither Groff nor any of the other suspected co-conspirators were charged with any crimes. Groff was alleged to have scheduled massage appointments for the women and minor girls, as well as looking after their living needs and maintaining their rules of behavior for them. Victims, as well as 2 of Epstein's pilots, have also accused Groff of booking flights for Epstein's victims and paying them sums of money after the abuse. So it seems to me like she was basically she paid everybody. And then, of course, we dive into the documentary that everybody has seen several times, of course, and I've watched it several times, but I watched it again when I started doing my research because I wanted to really dial into what it really was. I mean, when I first watched it, it was not really something, I mean, of course I was interested, but it didn't seem like it could have grown into something of this magnitude like it has, but unfortunately it has. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely something you should watch, but also keep in mind that it just barely touches the surface of the abuse and the horrific things that these people did to these victims. I mean, it talks about massages and the sexual abuse, but it doesn't really cover the heinous things that these people were actually doing. It's quite modest when it comes to what actually was happening. And it's very, very sickening that they made a documentary and about this and didn't cover the entire thing. But also at the same time, this documentary was released before the files, so it could have been very well that the producers of this documentary had absolutely no idea that this was going on. So there's a couple emails that I want to touch base on really quick. This episode's going to be quite shorter than most of my episodes will be. Next week's will be quite larger and more in depth. But to just kind of paint the picture of who these people are, Of course, there's the cream cheese topic going around the email thread between Jeffrey Epstein and the name that has been redacted, the subject being cream cheese baby. The emails being, there are millions of babies, very little good vegetable cream cheese. Jeffrey then responded, LOL, I don't know if cream cheese and babies are on the same level. Which that just kind of goes to show, I mean, there's people speculating. I have not seen an email that says this yet. I'm assuming that this is probably what they're referring to. There might be more. I've not come across it yet, where the people, the abusers are comparing eating these babies, the texture being cream cheese, which is disgusting. I read this statement where the Special Victims Squad was notified. This girl was 13 years old. She was in the hospital. They were claiming she was mentally ill and or she wasn't 13 years old. She was older, but had the mentality of a 13-year-old, as well as borderline personality disorder, amongst other illnesses. Reason to believe CV, which I believe is the victim's initials, is being sex trafficked because CV lives with an old rich man and several other men. So that also was just kind of goes to show how the abuse takes a toll on you, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I mean, just the fight that these women are going through to capture any sort of sanity that they can. Of course, there's the pizza conversation, which I found a table of content, not like a table of contents, but like a table that talks about like the words and their terminology. Hot dog being boy, pizza being girl, cheese being little girl, pasta being little boy, ice cream being male prostitute, walnut being person of color, and map being semen. Of course, there are probably more, and I will look into that and use them for my next episode next week. Of course, there's pizza parties being taken to school by unredacted names. This one says, this is, of course, between another unredacted name and Jeffrey Epstein. This is better than a Chinese cookie attached file, which, of course, nobody can seem to find the file. Let's go for pizza and grape soda again. No one else can understand, which, I mean, we all kind of understand. This between Harry Fish and Jeffrey Epstein. Holy shit, Chunky. I forgot about that. What time do you want to get pizza and grape soda tomorrow? Which I would like to know what grape soda means. So I'm going to dig into that because that's something that is mentioned quite frequently that I would like to know as well. Of course, it talks about the grooming and how they purposely went for girls who had troubled homes, troubled childhoods, and how easy they are for not perpetrators, but these men to target them, and how just absolutely crazy how far these people are willing to go to feel the power. It just is crazy to me that the power that these people have and how they're willing to use that power as far as like constant surveillance on these victims' homes after coming out about what was going on, how they all met with the lawyers and they were giving statements before Jeffrey Epstein allegedly killed himself in the prison cell, how Acosta dropped the case against Epstein, and Epstein worked out a deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and how the deal had been made before the case had even started, and that was when he served the 18 months in prison and is now a registered sex offender. And the conviction of it is like super modest to what actually he should have been charged with. It just doesn't make sense. Talks about sacrifices, but the one email that I was going to touch base on, and this is viewers discretion advised, just so we're all aware. Like, if you don't have the stomach for some of this stuff, then please, this is the part where I'm going to ask you to fast forward, because I'm not going to expect anybody to be able to listen to this. The people who can and have the stomach for this, I've done a lot of soul healing and a lot of heart healing after digging into some of these. Like, my mental health has been a huge priority for me. But it talks about, and I believe it's an email from Bill Gates, and he talks about how babies suck harder when they hear their mother's voice. And I didn't really quite understand. I didn't really quite understand what that meant when I read that email, because I had yet to find the beginning part of the email. Not so much the beginning part of the email, but the statement from a victim that tied that together, and that made sense. And so I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. I did, of course, have intention of looking that up and digging deeper into the meaning behind that, but then I found it, and I'm just going to say it's disgusting. And vile doesn't come close to what it actually is. So it basically, this statement, and I have yet to find this statement. I heard about it on social media, and I was able to see it, but I have yet to find the file in the Epstein files themselves, either on the DOJ or the jmail.world, which is what I've started using, because the DOJ has it all mumbled and jumbled together and you can't understand anything. But anyways, what it basically boils down to is this. They would impregnate these women and children. They would give birth to these babies, and they would starve these babies to the extent that they would basically latch on to anything. And with Bill Gates's email saying that if you play the mother's voice, the babies will suck harder, I will basically leave the rest up to your imagination as to how they figured that out. Just vile things. The cannibalism that took place, there was a dessert that was requested quite frequently, and it was called tongue sorbet. And once you know, it's exactly how it sounds. It is raw human tongue served with a side of sorbet. And that just also goes to show who these people are. The pizza parties, they would have pizza parties and pizza making contests, and to my understanding, they would use human flesh as the toppings for these pizza, and have a contest to see who made the best pizza, which is also very disturbing. And that just goes to show, that's just a stick your toes in the water to see how it feels. Like, this is not, I will be diving in deeper to all of this next week. I just kind of wanted to touch base on a few things at the beginning on my first episode, just introduce myself and kind of go over what I'm talking about now. However, the Jeffrey Epstein files are not going to be the only thing I talk about. I will be covering other crime cases throughout the nation, and then of course I will continue with the Jeffrey Epstein series as of right now, because that is the hottest topic. I will continue with that. If there are emails or any documents that you would like me to investigate to talk about on the next episode, I would love to hear from you guys, and I will take requests as far as what you are wanting to learn more about in the files, just so that we are aware of what's going on, and help educate you guys in these files. Like I said, there's just a lot of stuff in here. The There's this one email that said, it's from unknown to Jeffrey Epstein. I'm quitting my job tomorrow. Thank you for treating me like a prostitute. All capital letters. Thank you. I would assume that that was an email from a victim who was not okay. Not okay with how she was treated. I'm sorry about that. And then, of course, this email that said, it's from unknown to Jeffrey Epstein. Come on, Jeffrey, I agree to be a prostitute, but only if you're a personal prostitute. I miss you. So this could be another case of Stockholm Syndrome, or somebody getting paid to do a job with Jeffrey Epstein that didn't really... This is one person I kind of wanted to touch on just a tidbit. And it kind of ties in with everything. He was the chairman of the Museum of Modern Art. So he ties into one of the victims listed, or one of the victims talked about in the documentary. He's a private equity investor, former CEO of Apollo Global Management, co-founded in 1999 with Mark Rowan and Josh Harris. Black was the chairman of the Museum of Modern Arts from 2018 to 2021. Leon David Black. He is listed several times in the emails as well, some of them being absolutely disgusting and heinous. I will cover more on him in the next episode. This is another email from Jeffrey to unknown, which I just want to clarify that all of these names being redacted is just incredibly disgusting. Everybody needs to see justice for what happened. So I'm hoping that with the Jeffrey Epstein Transparency Act, that all of the documents will be released and unredacted, except for, of course, the victim's information. Jeffrey saying to this unknown person, she looks pregnant. Unknown to Jeffrey, you mean radiating a soft glow with the look of bliss and excitement. Yeah, that's the pizza. And I'm going to go ahead and assume they ain't talking about eating a cheese pizza. Okay? So, I'm going to basically wrap up this episode with saying, I hope for the sake of these victims and everybody involved, that there's justice for these women, that we all come together in unity and bring awareness to what's going on, because unfortunately, we have only seen 3 million of the 6 million documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, and these women deserve their day in court. These women deserve to courageously talk about their testimony and their story and live their truth. And they need to see justice for what's going on. So in order to help with that, I have set up a GoFundMe account that I will put in the description box when I post my episode. If you guys feel it in your hearts to help these Epstein victims, I'm going to be sending all proceeds to the victims, helping with lawyer fees and therapy and whatever else they use the money for. This is like all the proceeds will go to them. I just want to help raise awareness for them and help them understand that they're not alone, and that they deserve to be heard, and that they are not silenced, and their voices do matter, and their truth matters. And collectively as a nation, we will continue to fight for these women until they are served some justice. So with that being said, I'm going to sign off on this episode today. My next episode will come out next week. I am thinking maybe Thursday or Friday. I have yet to be decided. I have some more research that has to be done, so I will be doing that. If you have any emails or anything in the Jeffrey Epstein files that you would like me to look up and talk about in the next episode, please leave a comment. I will do my best to look into those and to be able to help you understand what's being said a little bit easier. So with that being said, I'm going to sign off, and you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.